Welcome to The Art of Being Unstoppable, the podcast where we will go beyond the ordinary and embrace the extraordinary. Be part of down-to-earth, no BS conversations where we will explore hot topics on love and money, relationships and business, beauty, and who we get to be with all that shit in between. With our insights and your actions, let's be unstoppable together. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Art of Being Unstoppable. And today we're talking about something that a lot of people don't really talk about, and it is about embracing the journey. Vicky and I, before we got on this podcast, we're talking about from the perspective of entrepreneur, from the perspective of, just human beings embracing the journey of life. So Vicky, I know that you've been an entrepreneur for a long time, had your own salon. What was that process like for you, being a salon owner and being on that journey of being an entrepreneur?
I love being an entrepreneur, I'll be honest. And I grew up in an entrepreneurial home. My dad's was an entrepreneur my whole life. So it's all I ever knew. And I think that the bumps in the road, the ups, the downs, it's all worth it. For me, the journey has been, and I've closed my salon. I closed my salon in 2017, but the journey itself is ups and downs. Obviously, it depends on the economy. It depends on so many different things, but the journey and the meeting people and the staff that I had with me all along the way, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I honestly can honestly say that working for someone else, that I've worked for other people as well. After I closed my salon, I worked for a couple of different companies and I loved it. I took it on as my own. I managed a store and I really enjoyed it, but there's nothing like being an entrepreneur.
It's interesting because when I was a teacher, the journey was different, right? As an educator, the journey was, how do I get to retirement and survive teaching?
Right.
Honestly. And when I became an entrepreneur, I thought the journey was about revenue and about business building and hitting targets. And I thought that was kind of the journey, right? How to grow a business. And I got caught up in revenue and business stuff, but I didn't realize that there was this other journey, which is navigating the highs and the lows and discovering things about myself along the way. And I realized that there is kind of this illusion of arriving someplace. We talk about
most definitely
getting to the top of the mountain or getting to the next level of success. And the illusion, I think, is detracting people from really enjoying the journey and enjoying the process.
And I have to be honest, when I decided to kind of shift from owning the salon to just renting a chair, I still was a business owner because as a stylist, you're still your own, right? If you rent a chair, you're your own business. And I still had that leadership role in my life with other, wherever I worked, whatever salon it was, whatever company I worked for, I still had that leadership role because I just think that it was born and bred into me. I just feel like that's how I show up as the leader in my business. And to take that back seat, I think too, to work for someone else, because it's different. You have to follow certain rules. And when you have the ups and downs in an entrepreneurship, that I took it personally. When things didn't go well, I took it personally. So now when I look back, after shifting careers somewhat and now doing more coaching as well as hairstyling, I really am embracing this journey because I see it in a different way. Back then I had to raise my children, right? So I needed to, and that's the grind. Again, like you said, you're doing that grind all the time. You feel like you have to. Well, now I get to. I don't have to.
Yeah. I'll never forget a time when I was growing my coaching business and I had my 3 business partners and we invested in a really high-end coach. And he said, okay, you guys just hit 7 figures in your business. And that should be something to celebrate. But then I remember he said, so what's next? And one of my business partners said, well, of course, 8 figures. But it's almost as if we didn't even celebrate the fact that our business, which was at the time top percent of coaches and consulting businesses in the world, most people don't hit 7 figures. We hit it in less than a year, and we did not actually even celebrate that milestone. We're on to the next level. And I remember thinking that when I got to the top, I had this view of what it was like at the top. And I actually thought, wow, this is the top of the mountain. This is what I always dreamed of. And when I got there and I was looking down, I wasn't fulfilled. I thought it was going to feel different. And I thought that I would feel this sense of accomplishment or feel this sense of, wow, pride in what I created. But I felt more stress and more turbulence in that moment because now I was hit with other challenges. Now that I hit this, I got to keep that up. I can't fall backwards. And when I actually left that company a couple of years later, because I didn't enjoy the process and I didn't see the growth and the learning, I felt like such a huge failure. It was the biggest setback of my life because here I felt like I was at the top of the mountain and I fell down instead of, wow, there is no top of the mountain. There is no falling down. All of it is part of the journey. But I couldn't wrap my mind around that for a long time. I couldn't wrap my mind around the process, and the journey is actually the highs and the lows. And I feel like a lot of people have the same experience, but we're not talking about this. And we get stuck
totally agree. Totally agree. I know my dad owned a company for 50 plus years. And when he chose to step back from a dealership of like he was a Harley Davidson dealer, but when he chose to step back and just do parts and service, he kept that company going because of the obligation. And I feel this may not be the truth, but I feel that he kept it going for the obligation for the people that worked for him and for his customers. And because he had done it so long, he didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Right. So he had been that person, that entrepreneur, helping everyone, making sure everyone had their bills paid, their paycheck for so long that he didn't know what to do afterwards. And I can say that when I closed my business, I felt like I failed, even though it had run its course. And it was a choice that I made for me. Not for, and that was the hard part, I think, for my dad as well. And it was hard for me that I made the choice for me and I didn't put all of them first, I think. And maybe sometimes entrepreneurship isn't that way, but for me, that's the way it was.
Well, I think you bring up a good point about the reality of growth in entrepreneurship, right? Because every stage, there's a different set of challenges. Like the challenges don't go away. And when we're not paying attention to the stages of growth, like in the beginning, the early stage, it's like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I figure out what to do here? And how do I grow a team? And, am I doing the right thing? And so there's a lot of challenges with that, a lot of mindset stuff. And then, the growth phase is more of like, I don't know if I can handle this. Now that I'm achieving this success and I'm growing and things are really good, can I handle all of this? Am I going to drop the balls? And we're like always afraid of dropping balls. Mm-hmm. And then we go to the scaling phase, whether it doesn't matter what business we're in, hairstyling or coaching, do I grow a team? Do I just stay me and somebody else? And then it's like the challenges become like, I don't know if I really want this. And that's where I got to when I was in the scaling phase, when we had 200 people in the room and we're making all of this money and I have a house manager and I'm like, this is everything I wanted. Then I was hit with the reality, but there's a lot of responsibility that comes with this. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that I felt like I was sacrificing. Is this really what I want? I gave up teaching, which was corporate. Do I want to actually give up what I love, which I was coaching? I was doing very little coaching. I was growing a business and I was scaling. And because I didn't fall in love with the process, it felt like a lot of work. It was heavy. It was significant. It was like so much it factor instead of just, I wish somebody would have told me, hey, listen, this is the process you got to go through right now.
This is the scaling process and it feels uncomfortable. Or this is the early process and it feels like you don't know what the hell you're doing and you feel like an imposter. Or, hey, this is the growth process. And I know that you might be wondering if you can handle all of this, but we're not talking about this stuff. Nobody told me about this. And I wonder and I get that my process is my process and I fully accept I am where I am because this is part of my spiritual path of letting go, of seeing this, to give this away. But nobody was talking about that. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was coming. And so, what nobody tells us about success is it is going to have some challenges and it's normal.
And
but
I think
there is a way to enjoy it.
Yes. But what is success, Tina?
Yeah. Well, yes.
Right?
For me, success is having joy in the process. That is success.
And that's what I was going to say. And I agree with that. And I do, because I made a great living. So did the girls that worked for me. So did the girls that worked with me. We all did well. And I always, as an entrepreneur, it was a team. We were a team. And that's how we built it. And if it wasn't for them, it was a give and take for all of us. But the success was in that journey for me. I really enjoyed watching their families grow up. I really enjoyed getting to know my clients. I really enjoyed the process of what I was building. I didn't know that it needed to, I didn't know when to make it end, have it end. That was my problem, is I kept going and kept going and kept going. And I didn't know, you know what? It made me sick. Because I took on for everyone else, I ended up getting sick because of it. Right? Because of the stress and the this and the that, which I just thought was just part of what we do. It wasn't even, I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware of what I am aware of now.
Right.
I wasn't.
Yeah. And I think it's conversation like this that help people see, okay, no matter what business you're in, is it aligned with how you want to build your life? And this is another thing about enjoying the process, is seeing that we can't separate business from life. And if you're not having fun because you're sacrificing your life for your business, or you're sacrificing business to I don't, I want to focus on my health and well-being, and I want to focus on my family, and I don't really want to grow a business. And, if we're always in this state of turmoil because we haven't figured out a way to make our life work, we're the CEO of our life. And when you're an entrepreneur, you can't segment it. You got to see this as growing a business is part of our spiritual path. And it is a process, and enjoying that process. We only follow through with things that give us pleasure. And if we're not getting pleasure in the process, or we're not even seeing it as a process, then we're going to lack joy and fulfillment. And fulfillment really is an internal game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How is it possible? This is what I ask myself now. How is it possible to go from a special education teacher, wishing my life away, to creating a 7-figure coaching company, having all the luxuries that come with it, traveling the world, speaking on international stages, making more money in 1 month than I made in a year, and feel so unfulfilled? How is that possible? The only thing that I can think of is that I didn't fully embrace the process. I put too much pressure on myself to chase the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But nobody told me that I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to chase the next best thing. So I didn't know what I didn't know. And I kind of feel like I robbed myself of experiencing the joy. When you lose it, then you're appreciate it. You don't know what you have until it's gone. I couldn't appreciate it in that moment, but I wish that I had somebody in my corner to say, what can you do to appreciate the moments right now and to appreciate the process instead of feeling stress and anxiety? Here I am making an impact and making a difference in thousands of people's lives. Never once did I stop to smell the roses. Not once.
So when
it's kind of sad.
It is. But now that you do know, like, where do you feel you are now, like in your entrepreneurial journey? Because this is what we do. We're entrepreneurs. You know, you're a co-founder of a coaching company. You coach, you have your own coaching company. We do this podcast. I have my own coaching company. I am a stylist. How do we, and you know, your podcast or your post that you did the other day keeps coming to mind about balance is bullshit. And the reason I'm saying that is because you were juggling a ton of balls, but you weren't aligned with any of them.
No.
Because you were striving for the destination. You weren't enjoying the journey of what was happening in your life. You kept striving to get somewhere. Well, we're never going to get there. Where is there?
Where is there? There is nowhere. It's just like, you know, instead of the doing, we talk a lot about the art of being, like who we get to be in this process. And I think the big shift for me was really falling in love with the process, seeing that my business isn't just business. My business is part of my spiritual path. And I'm seeing that being aligned with my purpose, like I have a real affinity for making a difference in people's lives. Like it's such an inner knowing for me now that I see I can't hustle and grind my way to the top. No amount of strategies or mechanisms is going to help me create my life because I see that the process is my life. And it's so weird to get your mind around that. When I listen to a podcast or read a book or take an action in my business, I'm falling in love with the process because I'm falling in love with me in the process. I'm falling in love with something bigger than me in the process. I'm falling in love with the highs and the lows and the breakdowns and the breakthroughs. And I'm actually saying, woohoo, bring it on. I know the quicker I fall, the harder I fall, the more blessings are on the other side. And most people are like, I am not cut from that cloth. Like, I don't want to not get a paycheck. I don't want to take a risk. I don't want to all of that. And I'm like, for me now, embracing the process, this is how I experience aliveness.
Yeah.
Playing full out, failing. People are like, how do you fail with grace and dignity? I'm like, I realize that the only way I can grow is to fail. So I embrace, fail a whole bunch of times because that means I'm learning. That means I'm playing, and not just in business, but I mean, if we took this on in life, if you're single, I'm single, so, I'm always going to talk about the dating process and stuff. But if you never take a risk and put yourself out there and risk failing or risk making a mistake, then we just exist.
I don't want to just exist. I don't. I enjoy this discovery, the self-discovery, the world discovery, the building relationships in this business, the getting to know people, supporting people, loving people through it. And that is what I had this conversation today with one of my clients. And I said, if it hadn't have been for me standing behind that chair when I stood behind that chair for 30 years, I don't know if I would have gotten through the marriage, the divorce, the having children, my ex-husband being an addict, my son becoming an addict. Those people and we helped each other through it. We grew through it because we went through it. And you went through what you went through because it was part of your journey. And now you get to see it clearly because you're on this side of the shitstorm that you went through. But now you get to see it clearly. So knowing what you know, and you've learned it, so you don't have to keep repeating that same pattern over and over again. You get to keep growing. And being an entrepreneur is about noticing the patterns because if we're failing, you're not failing, Tina, you're failing forward. You kept going. You kept moving forward. So to me, I don't see it as a failure. Maybe it was a setback, but it was a setup for something bigger and something better. Right. And you've built relationships like you would maybe never have had if you had stayed where you were.
If we start embracing the process and seeing it as a process, we start realizing that every setback or every failure, whatever we want to call it, is part of the process. And sometimes what we do is we want to speed up the process, or we sometimes even delay the process because we're not embracing the breakdowns, embracing the setbacks. We're emotionally attaching ourselves. And that's what I did. Like, I'm so stressed and I have so much anxiety and I can't breathe. And I felt like I was going to like check myself into the, psychiatric ward some days. Like, I mean, it was just complete like breakdowns. But knowing what I know now, I could see that that was part of the process too.
Yeah.
That was expanding so that I could receive more, but I had to go through the pain, but I wanted to like stuff the pain, like not feel the pain, like go run on vacation or something instead of just, okay, let me just sit with this for a second. Let me be with the feelings that are coming up. Notice that I'm not my feelings. Let me trust the process right now that when I did 35 enrollment calls and 35 no's, I had to trust that was part of the process.
Yeah.
And, at the time it just felt really painful. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to hear all these no's. I don't want to deal with the rejection. But until I saw that rejection and letting go, nobody's rejecting me. They're just saying no. Until I internalized that, it was going to keep showing up until I just said, okay, cool. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity to really embrace this process of letting go of the feeling of rejection. So it's kind of, it's an interesting thing to wrap your mind around, but it is a mindset shift and it is a practice of seeing that everything that's happening is happening for us. It's helping us learn a lesson about ourselves, letting go of something in ourselves.
Yeah.
And this is why we believe that this, embracing the journey is so important, because how many people feel the pressure, feel the anxiety, feel the challenges, and then quit because they don't fully embrace that this is actually helping you grow. See that it's helping you grow. Choose it. And that's we can do another podcast on choice.
Absolutely.
But when you choose it, then there's nothing to run from. It's just acceptance. And this is the beauty in really embracing this journey. And I think that's what I love about entrepreneurship, because it is like personal development on steroids. You can't hide from yourself.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
I wish I tried. I tried hiding from myself. It didn't work.
No. And whether you work for a company or you work for yourself, embracing the journey is really what we're talking about here. Being an entrepreneur is hard, but the journey brings me so much joy, and it's a blessing. It really is for me. So I think that the relationships that we get to build and the process that this all involves is, for me, fulfilling. I feel fulfilled because I've learned so much about myself in the process of doing what I do.
You just reminded me of something. I know we talk a lot about entrepreneurship and stuff, but when I was an educator, I remember I had, principals that I worked with that were just tyrants, or, there's teachers that I worked with that we clashed, or support staff. And I was just like, oh my God, get me out of here. Like, I thought this is like, I don't belong here. Like, I can't be doing this anymore. But if I would have saw that even those people that came into my process were there to teach me a lesson about myself, and if I could just embrace and like look inwards, I would have realized that it was never the job. It was never the people. I had to go through something. It was my process, even in education, but I didn't. I quit.
I was just like, yeah, you know what? This isn't for
Mhm.
me. I'll quit and I'll go find another thing. I'll go build a business. And then I almost quit my business. And I started noticing these patterns because entrepreneurship or life, the journey is we're all on a journey and we're all in a process of living life. And it's not the people that come into our life or the situations. It's if we can embrace that it's us and really trust the process in life, in business, in relationships, learn from it, notice the patterns.
Yeah.
It's almost like a superpower that nobody can take away because you trust that this is
Well,
happening to help me.
I am with you on that superpower. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you guys are getting value from this or if you're willing to embrace that life is a journey and a process and good, bad, messy, or ugly. It's really intended to help us let go of something that needs to be transformed. And when we can own it and access that superpower, life is more fulfilling and more joyful. And we get to be unstoppable. And that's pretty freaking awesome.
I love it.
So
I freaking
if
love
you
it.
guys want to learn more about how to embrace the journey or the process, or you're looking for strategies to have a better life, better relationships, better business, in our show notes, we have a whole bunch of other resources for you to go check out. We have a school community, a Facebook community. We have scorecards, quizzes. I mean, we got so much for you to help you get to the next level. We like this episode and every episode. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending your time with us. And we look forward to serving you and getting to know you a little bit more too.
Absolutely. You guys have a beautiful day.
Bye, everyone.
Well, friends, that is the end of our episode today. If you love this episode, hit the subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And please share us with your friends and tag us on your socials at The Art of Being Unstoppable. So for today, have yourself a beautiful day and let's be unstoppable together. See you next time.